Hello, welcome everyone. If you were able to join us on our last summit and on the podcast, and if you may even be following her, Lisa Goldenthal, excuse me. She is a high performance executive coach. And in 2024, she was voted in the top 15. Do you know how many high performance coaches there are? There are a lot. And she was voted in the top 15, leading you and others and companies into their next years and helping everyone be the best they can be. Lisa, I am so happy that you are here. You always share so beautifully, and your leadership is appreciated. And here we go. We're getting ready to move into the new year.
Yeah,
Well, as we know, and the audience has heard this quite a bit by now, only 5% of all those that set, whether, we can call them New Year's resolutions, but we set goals. We take our dreams and our hopes and we want them to come to fruition, right? Well,
right.
only 5%. And by March, only 52% are still practicing. How in the world, as a high performance coach, please share with us, how do we set up for that success? How do we maintain what we need to be doing to reach that success at the end of the year?
Well, there's so much to jump into, Carol. Thanks again for having me. It's always fun to have a conversation. And as we look forward to the next year, it's time to shift away from hoping for success to strategically designing it. And that's what I want to talk to your audience about. There's so many cliche things we could say about resolutions and setting goals and all the people that are in the gym on January 1st are not really even there by February 15th. So the statistics are bad, but I don't want to start out on a negative note. I want to help you guys imagine instead just waking up every morning fueled with purpose, productivity, and clear direction. That's the reality when you can harness the power of an intentional goal setting and a solid action plan. So just imagine this, you guys. If every day this year felt like it was moving you towards your dream, how powerful would that feel?
Very. And I think years ago, the olden days is what I call that, I would set lofty goals. And I didn't, I knew how to do it, but I didn't look at this as day to day, step by step. I wanted it to happen quickly, you know, way before the end of the next year, certainly.
Yeah,
And I think that we often get caught up. I want to hear your input on this, please, in so much of what we have to do in the gap. And there's a
yeah,
book, Gap versus Gain. And
yeah,
we get caught here rather than where are we today? And what are two steps? One step, if you must, one step towards into that gap, one little bitty step, and I really feel like that's where the the drop happens. And how do you help all those that you coach, these high performance, you know, people that are desperate to be high performers, right?
yeah.
Olympians, for example. How do you help them stay in the gain where they are one step, where they are one step? How do you get them to stay there?
Well, I love your focus on accountability because obviously we all have these great visions, and we might wake up, January 1st sometime and be like, yeah, I want to run a marathon. I want to get married this year and I want to make $1 million. So it's really good to be a visionary. All great leaders are visionary, but it's good to have a brain dump, just dump it all down. What do you really want? And then you got to narrow it down to what is the one thing because you're not going to really be able to accomplish everything all at once. So I'd like to give you guys some real strategy as far as like, let's do it. Let's just make it your year. So let's talk about intentional design. Success doesn't just happen, it's built. So think of this year as your canvas, and every goal you set is a deliberate stroke that brings your vision to life. And everyone talks about SMART goals. Either you love them or you hate them, but let's just start with a SMART goal: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. And why? Because these goals will set a clear path forward, making even the biggest dreams stay attainable and feel attainable. So, for example, a lot has been said about your why, but you have to know your what and you have to know your why. Why do you want to get married? Or why do you want to make $1 million? What does that feel like for you? And then you can get that vision with a taste and feel of your number one goal. We're going to start with one, and then we're going to teach you how to reverse engineer it. So, I mean, I remember when I first aimed at launching my business, it felt enormous and overwhelming. But by breaking down the goal into smaller, actionable steps, each one became a milestone, bringing me closer to my vision with a clear roadmap. And I had to learn how to enjoy the journey, because
Yeah.
that way it is not just possible, but inevitable. Because, so many times you think it has to happen right now. And you have this timeline. And none of my goals that I've accomplished have ever happened in the exact same timeline that I decided randomly. I have to do
Right.
it now.
Right.
You get back up, you have grit, you have resilience. So write down one major goal you have for 2025, or whenever it is you're listening to this. Break it into quarterly milestones, and this will help keep that bigger picture view without losing sight of the achievable bite size actions. And what I mean by that is start with the end in mind, imagine the outcome you want by the end of the year, and then reverse engineer the journey from there. Working backwards allows you to identify every key step needed to reach your target and keeps your focus sharp.
I love that so much. I want to back up to one of the things that you said, and this is a practice I was so thrilled to begin doing myself. And I do it on a Saturday or Sunday. It just is easier. And that's the brain dump. I don't know so much love the name, but everyone refers to it that way. I like it as a brain clearing. Uh,
Yeah,
it just earlier today, um, one of my precious sister-in-law, she's a dear friend of mine, and she and I were talking about something, and we talked about this brain dumping process
yeah,
and the importance of that. If anyone in the audience, if you haven't heard us, myself or others that I visit with, such as Lisa, talk about it, it's an incredible practice. And there are studies that were actually done with men in this particular study that I'm thinking of that had
yeah,
they were unemployed. And there were, I can't remember how many, 1,200 and whatever it was, this number of men. And they had half do this brain dumping. And it was that, or journaling, if you want to call it. But what Lisa and I are referring to is just get it all out. Nobody's going to ever see it again. Just whatever's on your mind. Oh gosh, I need to mow the lawn. I need to go to the grocery. I'm sick of that. I'm thrilled about this. Just get everything out. And the group that did that, they were employed. 90% of them were employed within 3 months because they were able to get to critical thinking. And so, with your example, telling everybody start there,
yeah,
get everything out so that you can have critical thinking and clarity. And as Lisa has suggested, pick one thing.
yeah. You got to put a number one by the number one thing once you've gotten everything down on paper of all the what is the critical thing that would really make this a great year for you? So let's give you an example, if you want to increase revenue by 50%, visualize first what that success looks like in December at the end of the year, and then outline the steps in reverse: quarterly revenue targets, monthly projections, weekly tasks. And this process keeps your attention on the outcome while clarifying the how behind the what. And as we already mentioned, you need that why. So write out your steps that you need to reach your yearly goal for that one thing, starting from the end point and moving backwards. And this roadmap serves as your success blueprint for the year.
100%. And reverse engineering, I wonder how many people are practicing that in smaller in their day by day. You know, I happen to be in Houston, which is a wonderful big city. We have plenty of traffic. And I don't mind it because I love Audible. However, the thing about it is that surely, most of us here, you think about when you need to get someplace and you reverse engineer when you need to leave. And
Right.
along the way, what do I need to take with me? And is there a change of clothes? And where am I going to do this? And am I going to have a wonderful conversation with Lisa from the car? Where am I going to be doing this? We're all reverse engineering, even if we didn't realize that's what was happening. And,
Right.
you know, high schoolers have to do it with their lessons if they're given a project. I love reverse engineering that the professional world, you know, has embraced it. I mean, it has become, you know, the thing, right? And I love it because we're all doing it anyway.
Yeah,
And
it's
then you
strategic. You have to have a strategic plan. So once you have your goal, you know what you want, you know why, and you can visualize it and you know how that will feel. Once you get into that feeling state of as if you're already there, which is a big part of abundance, is just acting as if it's already there, then you get that strategic planning in place because it's your number one thing. And the reason I don't want anyone in your audience to fail is because we're going to work on that one goal. We're going to reverse engineering it. We're going to have accountability. You're going to meet with somebody once a week, not an accountability coach, not someone who's going to be like, how'd you do? But someone that's going to like be like, okay, get a real strategy here. Let's do this, let's do that. What do you want? Why do you want it is all important in the beginning, but from there it becomes strategy. And the reason people fail are a lot of times is if they just look at their goals once a year. It doesn't work like that in business or in life. It's like, let's just take Sundays, for example. Like you like to do it on Saturday. It could be Sunday, it could be Saturday, but this is your strategic reset time, and treat that as your weekly check-in to review your progress, recalibrate your goals, and prioritize tasks for the week ahead. And this ritual will set up a strong foundation for each week, like a captain charting a course before setting sail. So the practical tip is to use Sundays to celebrate wins from the past week, no matter how small, and map out the week ahead, and consider it your commitment to steady, intentional progress. So I would say set aside 30 minutes for that. How does that sound?
yeah, I love it. I trust me, I always try. I shoot for an hour and 30 minutes is more realistic. So I think I love that suggestion. And I want to touch on something that you said because I think it is of the utmost importance. And one of my mentors, Randy, he always talks about this. Our whys have to be bigger than any of the roadblocks that come along the way. And
Oh, yeah.
like for people, I like to suggest your why. What does it look like? What happens when you succeed? When you reach this goal? Yes,
Yeah.
that's important, but don't forget the importance of what does it cost? What happens if you do not succeed or
Oh,
reach that goal?
yeah. The cost of inaction should be as powerful and painful as you can make it, because I've been there. I've been there, where I wanted this thing and I wanted it so badly, and I would look at my vision board and I would look at my goal, and I hadn't gotten there yet, but I didn't give up. I had accountability. I just sometimes you have to look at what happens if I don't take this action, even though I have failed before, I have failed many times. All the most
Yeah.
successful people in this life have failed in huge ways, but they just keep going. So you have to find that. I love the way you talk about, well, what if I fail? I mean, you kind of have to look at roadblocks are going to happen. This is life.
Sure.
It's been like that. Boom, boom, boom. Like, well, pandemic, lockdowns, we have riots, we have economic uncertainty, all these things that are constant. So you have to be able to be, what do I do if I hit a roadblock? What's my
Yeah,
would be there?
that's right. It's just why? What's it look like when you succeed? And what's the cost if you don't keep going?
Yeah.
It's so important. Oh my goodness, Lisa, we could go on and on. I'm so sad we're running out of time.
Oh,
And I know that the audience wants to continue visiting. We will have, of course, everyone will have access to be able to follow you and to have a call, get on a call with you. And you, of course, you always share so generously with the listeners. And I want to thank you on their behalf. I cannot thank you enough. I love when we get to visit, and
oh,
we'll do something. Hopefully, everyone will have a fun little conversation before they see us here. And thank you, audience. Y'all are always so you're generous in the way you invest your time. We know that if you're here with us, you're sacrificing being someplace else. So know that you are appreciated. And we're going to do everything we can to support you. Let's grow that 5% by a big number and let's all be part of let's support one another to succeed in whatever we have that we have for our goals into the next year. Thanks so much.
thanks, Carol. It's been a pleasure having the conversation.
Oh, it was wonderful.